Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Malugod kong ipinakikilala ang mga magtatapos ng nakababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila para sa taong pampaaralang 2020 hanggang 2021. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa Cluster Cardinal. Ang klase ng St. Jack Berthieu na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Ginoong Alfredo Joaquin C. Arias. Ang klase ng St. Alexander Bryant na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Binibining Anne Lorraine S. Villafuerte. Ang klase ng St. Peter Canisius na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Ginoong Aaron M. Bermudez. Ang klase ng St. Noel Chabanel na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Binibining Aliana Grace Z. Jimena. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa Cluster Las Torta. Ang klase ng Blessed Juan Bautista Ferreres na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Ginoong Jonel Inhosa. Ang klase ng Blessed Francisco Garate na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Ginoong Melvin T. Olalia. Ang klase ng St. Charles Garnier na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Binibining Maria Johanna S. Rivera. Ang klase ng Blessed Pere Helebert na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Ginoong Ramon B. Cristobal. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa Cluster Montserrat. Ang klase ng St. Leon Ignace Manjan na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Binibining Erica Cris D. Yu. Ang klase ng Blessed Julien Manua na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Binibining Maria Jolina E. Leconcito. Ang klase ng St. Henry Morse na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Ginoong Anton Paulo C. Concepcion. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa Cluster Pamplona. Ang klase ng Blessed Thomas Whitbread na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Binibining Joanna Pauline L. Makatangay. Ang klase ng Blessed Dedecius Yuki na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Ginang Natasha Lauren Aureola Jose. Ang klase ng Blessed Esteban Zuraire na pinamumunuan ng kanilang tagapayo na si Ginoong Aris A. Mercado. Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Magiliw, pelos ang sinanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukaw, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdiningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhating pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Manatili lamang po tayong nakatayo para sa pambungad na panalangin na pamumunuan ni Padre Roseler L. Atilano Jr. ng Kapisanan ni Jesus, tagapamahala ng Campus Ministry at Chaplain ng Nakababatang Mataas na Paaralang Ateneo de Manila.
Ating alalahanin na tayo ay laging nasa banal na presensya ng ating Panginoon. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak at ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Mahal naming Panginoon, salamat po sa aming pagtatapos ng school year na ito. Kakaiba man po at puno ng pagsubok ang taong ito dahil sa pandemya. Nairaos namin ito ng maayos at matagumpay. Higit sa lahat, sa taong ito, mas nakita namin ang aming lakas at angking kabutihan sa tulong ng iyong gabay. Hindi po kami makakarating sa pagkakataong ito nang wala ang aming mga guro na sobrang pasensyoso sa amin at aming mga magulang na laging nagpapalakas ng aming kalooban. Basbasan mo po sila at iniaalay namin ang karangalang ito para sa kanilang paghihirap. O mahal naming Panginoon, kakaiba nga ang pagtatapos namin ngayon dahil mas nakita namin ang mga mas mahalagang bagay sa buhay. Nangangako kami na isabuhay ang lahat ng mga aral at asal na naituro sa amin ng Ateneo Junior High School, lalo na ang pagiging man and woman for others, lux in domino. Mahal naming Panginoon, may isa pa po kaming kahilingan sa araw na ito. Pagalingin mo po kami, lalong-lalo na ang aming bayan at ang lahat ng taong naghihirap dahil sa sakit o kawalan ng pag-asa. Hinihiling namin ito sa ngalan ni Jesus na iyong anak, kasama ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak at ng Espiritu Santo. Amen.
Mga kaibigan, ang punong guro ng Nakababatang Mataas na Paaralang Ateneo de Manila, si Ginoong Jose Antonio P. Salvador.
Sa harap ni Padre Roberto Siyap ng Kapisanan ni Jesus, Pangulo ng Pamantasan ng Ateneo de Manila, mga guro at mga kasapi ng komunidad ng Nakababatang Mataas na Paaralang Ateneo de Manila, mga magulang, mga panauhin at mga kandidato sa pagtatapos, opisyal na sinisimulan ang palatuntunan ng pagtatapos ng ika-10 baitang sa ika-162 taon ng Ateneo de Manila.
Ipinakikilala namin sa inyo si Jack Zachary Tedeos P. Ponce ng Montserrat Tenmanjan, ang pinarangalan ng Gawad San Ignacio de Loyola para sa katangi-tanging pinuno ng Nakababatang Mataas na Paaralang Ateneo de Manila taong 2021 para sa kanyang talumpati ng pagbati.
Father Roberto C. Yap of the Society of Jesus, University President. Mr. Jose Antonio P. Salvador, Junior High School Principal. Mrs. Jeneline S. Victoress, Assistant Principal for Academic Affairs. Mr. Perfecto R. Guerrero III, Assistant Principal for Student Affairs and Formation. Distinguished administrators, esteemed faculty and staff, dearest parents, beloved guests, and of course, my fellow graduates of Batch 2021, a good afternoon to all. Before anything else, I would like to first thank my parents, family, class, friends, teachers, and formators for their endearing support, patience, and love that served as my constant inspiration. I'd also like to thank the Lord for always guiding and sustaining me through all His blessings, without which I would not have been here today. Today, as we all know, is a very, very momentous day. I'll be the first of many to say this, but again, to my fellow graduates, congratulations. We finally did it, triumphantly finished our 4-year stay here in the Ateneo Junior High School. Although we may seem numb already to the current situation, we all can admit that there is still that inevitable void of missed opportunities for today's occasion brought by the pandemic. However, I hope that these disappointments won't mask the significance of today's celebration as we end a meaningful part of our lives and soon begin a new one. This event, albeit virtual, culminates all our hard work, sacrifices, and experiences throughout the 4 years that passed by. It seems it was just yesterday when we stepped on the school campus for the first time, wandering around in the red and white hallways, admiring the lush green fields touched by the morning dew, and experiencing that cold breeze the grounds bring early in the morning. As the current pandemic enveloped us throughout our last year here in the AJHS, we may have already forgotten these simple things that we fell in love with back from day one. Yet, though simple, these memories more often than not are the ones that truly make our experiences worth remembering. I'm confident that we all have that nostalgic memory we undeniably miss from school, big or small, that made our journey that much more fulfilling. From the times we'd frantically run to the MST building after hearing the silence bell, to the blue benches we would relax on with our teachers and classmates, the satisfying dust of chalk that would diffuse around the classroom, or the feeling of going out to UPTC on a Friday evening. Those pleasurable times during online school when we could check off tasks on our to-do list, press that turn-in button, or close the hundreds of tabs open after finishing that major composition or RP chapter. For me though, one of my favorite memories that I hope to experience again soon happens to be one of the simplest: the beauty of the campus during sunrise. I'm not the type of student who would always arrive at school early in the morning, but during those fortunate times that I get to catch a view of the sun transcending the horizon, I can't help but wonder in awe. That may seem dramatic, but if you also get to experience it, especially on the AJHS campus, there's just something intrinsically and undeniably beautiful about sunrise. For the majority, it symbolizes a new day, a new beginning of experiences, another chance to live life. Some find solace in watching the world quietly wake up as the sky slowly turns pink. Others enjoy the comfortable heat and brightness radiating from the daylight that breaks through the cold and dark night. Yet, the most elegant and alluring characteristic of the sunrise for me is how it shows the fact that the sun always chooses to rise. Even in the darkest of days, or the most turbulent of storms, even when no one is watching, the sun will always choose to shine, rise in its own rhythm, crack the dawn of tomorrow's uncertainty. This phenomenon and this school year's theme, Bangon, encapsulates what we are called to do, of what we did. It is the reason why we are where we are today, because we chose to rise. We all fought our own battles, our personal times of darkness. Some we won and some lost. The already taxing environment that physically draws us from the people and things we love the most. Our failures, losses, and challenges. Those times where we thought it was impossible. Yes, the long road ahead will be as strenuous and illit, but we can all agree that our journey wasn't as easy as we wished it could be. But it's in this ugly face of all the unrelenting realities where we can find meaning. After all, light shines brighter in the dark. When we chose to rise in those moments we fell, when we decided to never stop trying, that was when the magic happened. This closing ceremony testifies to how far we have all gone, the challenges we've risen through, and the lessons that molded a more robust and refined version of ourselves. With every hell week we underwent through preparing for test after test, we learned to be more adaptive to the challenges coming our way. With every field trip, sports fest, and salo-salo, we saw the beauty of building relationships with those around us. With all the moments we had to stay late in school due to meetings, trainings, or rehearsals, successfully leading up to that culminating event, we attested to what commitment and dedication could achieve. With our meaningful CSIB programs and emotional recollections, we witnessed the deeper purpose of losing one's self by serving others. And with the ongoing pandemic, we learned to cherish every moment, every nostalgic memory with family and friends, to live in the present, to grab every opportunity, to laugh and to love, because there might not be a tomorrow to do so. Sorry for the poorly put examples, but you see, the common denominator of our experiences is that we too always chose to rise and made the most out of the bleakest of situations. We are all ultimately here because we tried. We did something right. We accomplished a feat we never thought possible. So, we should be nothing but proud of that. Take pride, cherish, and remember all the experiences where we triumphed, flaws we grew from, and the relationships we built, because in time, these will serve as our joy, hope, and inspiration. Be proud of how far you have come, especially with the support of your loved ones, because the fact that you were able to survive through those tough times just shows how much farther you can go. However, as mentioned, our journey does not end here. Whether we like it or not, we are now being pushed out of our 4-year home into a new environment where we will feel just as daunted and uncertain. As we transition to this new dawn, as we go down the hill, let us remain hopeful and be inspired to again put into action the values the AJHS has instilled in us in these 4 years. To rise again and again and again. Rise by always doing Magus even if you are confined by the 4 corners of your screen. Rise by having faith in the people around you, in God, and of course, in yourself, in what you can do. Rise by embracing your mistakes and accepting that you are still a work in progress. Rise by seeing the world from a different perspective, always seeking the positive change you want to see in society. Rise by breaking your own indifference and prejudice, by standing up for the injustices that plague this tumultuous world, including those that are not your own. And above all else, rise, even if it is hard, even if no one is watching, even if it is beyond your bubble of comfort. Rise by always choosing the most loving option. But when things get tough again, when we fail again, and when we see nothing but darkness, be comforted by the fact that there will always be that next sunrise. Another day to try again, another chance to be greater and bolder. Finally, as we draw inspiration from this day's celebration, let us never forget the core values of what it means to be Atenean. Magus, the 5 C's, Cura Personalis, Mensana in Corporo Sano, servant leadership, persons for others, and of course, Lux in Domino, being the light in the Lord. Just like the sunrise, we are called to bring light and warmth into this dark and cold world. We are given the burden to use our education, the ideals the Ateneo has taught us, to not only search for our own light in God, but to be the burning light others and this society so desperately need. To use the day and the new beginning of experiences to wake other people up and to fight for those who can't fend for themselves, the people who need the extra voices to be heard. In line with what St. Ignatius said, we are called to go and set the world on fire. And batch 2021, there's no better time to start than today. Ad Maiorem Dei Gloriam, all for the greater glory of God.
Mga panauhin, ang pangalawang Pangulo para sa Batayang Edukasyon, si Reverendo Padre Joaquin Jose Marie C. Sumpayco III ng Kapisanan ni Jesus.
To the Ateneo de Manila University Junior High School completers of 2021, peace be with you. It is a bit difficult to write this letter as I have not met you personally. You may have had our virtual encounters during the year, but it sure is not the way that we have been used to in attending school. But do allow me, a pandemic plantito, to share with you a phrase that resonates in this year of online learning. Blossom where you are planted. Be grounded. How have you discovered yourself, especially during this school year? Has the soil in which you are planted helped you to thrive with others? It is normal that as we have been planted in our specific times and places, we have experienced rocky, thorny, and even shallow soil. I have faith that Ateneo has provided good soil for our growth. Deepen your roots. What nourished us this year is how we have responded. Our innovations have allowed us to adapt to the abrupt changes that we have encountered. Our manner of reaching out to people has brought about new ways of how we communicate. Understanding that we are not alone during these times has given us the grace to be able to connect. I have hope that Ateneo has provided essential learnings to us all. Gain perspective. Looking back to the year, have we indeed been able to connect to ourselves, others, and God? In our reflections and in that of others, may we always appreciate where we are in the greater scheme of things. I wish you much joy so that you may continue to persevere in great love that is manifested in good work. This task will not be easy, given the remarkable situation in our world. But let these words continue to guide our growth as we carry on towards the winding road ahead. May we see clearly, love dearly, and follow nearly Jesus in our daily lives. Keep safe, stay healthy, and may God bless you always. Ad Maiorem Dei Gloriam.
Mga kaibigan, ang Pangulo ng Pamantasang Ateneo de Manila, si Reverendo Padre Roberto C. Yap ng Kapisanan ni Jesus.
My warmest congratulations to the 10th grade class of the Ateneo de Manila Junior High School. Like all of you, I am disappointed that your closing ceremony has to be virtual again this year. But with our country still in the grip of the pandemic, our traditional ceremonies continue to be put on hold. Despite the virtual nature of the ceremony, however, I assure you that our joy for you and everything that you have accomplished is real. By successfully finishing the last of your junior high years, despite the difficult challenge and heartbreaking circumstances of the pandemic, you have shown yourselves to be strong and courageous of heart and mind. As the world grows more complex and your role in it grows more significant, these are attributes that will stand you in good stead throughout your life. Until we manage to control the spread of the virus, what our immediate future will be like is still uncertain. It is likely that we will need to continue with our remote learning system, either fully or partially, and that we will have to wear protective masks whenever we go out of our homes. What is certain, however, is that the pandemic will end. We will learn to live with the novel coronavirus and manage it like we have other viruses, and we will rise from its negative effects and the suffering it has caused. And I am certain of it because of you and your ability to persist through your studies this past year. I am certain of it because of your teachers who spent long hours translating their lessons into online modules because of their concern for you. Because of the many men and women who risk their lives daily to care for the sick and feed those who are hungry. The strength, compassion, and faith that all of you have exhibited throughout this most challenging of years is our source of hope for your future and the future of the world. I look forward to the day when we can again see each other in the Loyola Heights campus. Until then, I pray for God's blessings and protection for you and everyone you love. Again, my sincerest congratulations to each of you.
Ipakikilala ni Ginang Jeneline S. San Victores, katuwang na punong guro sa ugnayang pang-akademiko, ang mga tatanggap ng parangal.
Minimithi ng Ateneo de Manila na mapayaman sa kanyang mga mag-aaral ang isang dibdibang pagpupunyagi, isang malalim na pagmamalasakit, at tuloy-tuloy na pagsusumika tungo sa pagtatamo ng kagalingang pang-akademiko. Ipinagkakaloob ang Gawad Roberto Bellarmino para sa kahusayang akademiko sa mag-aaral na nakapagpanatili ng napakataas na antas na kagalingan sa buong paglalagi niya sa junior high school. Nagkamit ng QPI na 4.0 sa kanyang huling taon at may markang B o higit pa sa kabutihang asal. Mula sa cluster ng Cardinal, klase ng Berthew, Joaquin Miguel C. Angkit, Ross Adrian S. Bartolome, Ron Tristan U. de Guzman, Juan Carlos S. Godes, Peter James S. Guevara, Carlo Miguel Yesu Melesio M. Zuniga. Mula sa klase ng Bryant, Roland Jan E. Muanya, Joaquin Enrique B. Sinyan, Raymond Benedict S. Taya. Mula sa klase ng Canisius, Mark Timothy G. Abordo, Larry Gabriel T. Abukay, Joaquin Isaac M. Cruz, Francisco Dominic J. Fernandez, Rosendo M. Hamo III, Vicente Ignacio R. Santos, Francis Miguel Z. Solano. Mula sa klase ng Chabanet, Russell Matthew C. De Jesus, Robert Gabriel B. Isig, Enzo Nicolas M. Macatuno, Lauro C. Pasis III, Sean Russell S. Ramirez, Paulo Lorenzo L. Rayel. Mula sa cluster ng Las Torta, klase ng Ferreres, Inigo Uno V. Bautista, Mark Christian F. Manalansan, Jaime Alessandro S. Panaligan, Miguel Rafael F. Quito, Jeffrey Raul R. Tan. Mula sa klase ng Garate, Julian Agustin L. Aceron, Jose Joaquin C. Capino, Rafael Miguel P. Chan, Noah Gabriel C. Domingo, Lance Rafael T. Espiritu, Peter Julius M. Estacio. Mula sa klase ng Garnier, Amable Miguel Enrique K. Aguiluz XIX, Juan Javier R. Almoro, Nathan Rowe C. Dizon, John Kurt Alexander Q. Lim, Juan Roberto G. Pineda, Julian Patrick D. Robles, Marshall Jordan S. Salandana, Francis T. Villegas. Mula sa klase ng Helabel, Jesus Romeo C. Feliciano, Melvin Angelo D. Oliva, John Paul Matthew D. Kitati, Lee Jensen L. Romero, Joaquin Anton C. Sunya. Mula sa cluster ng Montserrat, klase ng Majan, Luis Gabriel C. Barros, Vigo Maximilian D. Elias, Joaquin Marie C. Estacio, Robert Alan P. Juan, Ruben Mateo A. Letaba, Marius D. Pascual III, Jacques Zachary Thaddeus P. Ponce, Christopher Anthony P. Reboton, Andre S. Rivadavia, Johansen Blake P. Vergara. Mula sa klase ng Manua, Joaquin Gabriel A. Comsti, Gian Marco Y. Cruz, Lorenzo Miguel E. Gutierrez, Rafael Edmundo J. Jaime, Nathan Luis S. Jordan, Ashton Marcos M. Lim, Cyrus Q. Nobleza, Kyle Patrick P. Ong, Ronald Joaquin P. Reyes III, Bryce Ryan A. Rojas, Lance Morris L. Peng. Mula sa klase ng Morse, Diego F. Andal, Matthew Frederick R. Arsenio, Enrico Pio Gabriel E. Cruel, Miguel Ivan C. Go, Inigo Alonso P. Pastor, Jose Miguel S. Persil, Juan Emilio O. Policarpo. Mula sa klase ng Pamplona, klase ng Whitbread, Johan Emilson B. Escalante, Franco Ariston Marcelino L. Pascual, Pio Rafael S. Ventura. Mula sa klase ng Yuki, Benjamin Inigo A. Barreto, Carlo Inigo D. Bautista, Francisco G. Ignalaga III, Jose Riel E. Marquez, Christian Sky P. Mendoza, John Rafael L. Ortiz, Roy Marcel D. Clementina, Stephen Kyle G. Uy, John Francis Y. Viray. Mula sa klase ng Zoraide, Mark Emilio A. Bato, Joaquin Leandro A. Cruz, Regis John R. Dimla, Chan Lee, Jose Alfonso R. Lumawi, Manuel Marlon Jose S. Mercado, Ray Sebastian E. Razal, at Andrew Dominic L. Saulo. Isang malugod na pagbati sa mga nagkamit ng Gawad San Roberto Belarmino para sa kausayang akademiko.
Ipakikilala po ngayon sa inyo ang mga tatanggap ng medalya ng kagalingan sa iba't ibang asignatura. Bilang kinatawan ng mga pinunong pangkagawaran, ipakikilala po ngayon sa inyo ni Ginoong Paulo Ven Bipakulan, pinuno ng Kagawaran ng Filipino, ang mga tatanggap ng Gawad Pangkagawaran.
Bagaman minimithi ng edukasyong Ateneo, nahubugi ng kabuuang pagkatao ng isang matatas sa maraming kaalaman, hinikayat din niyang magpunyagi ang mga mag-aaral niya na maging sukdulan ng galing sa mga tiyak na larangan ng karunungan upang higit na mahasa ang kanilang mga kasanayan, mapagyaman ang kanilang mga kakayahan, at dahil dito lumago sila bilang tunay at ganap na edukadong tao. Iginagawad ang kagawarang medalya ng kagalingan sa Araling Panlipunan kay Amable Miguel Enrique K. Aguiluz, the 19th, ng Las Torta 10 Garnier. Iginagawad ang kagawarang medalya ng kagalingan sa praktikal na sining kay Carlo Miguel Jesu Melesio M. Zuniga, ng Cardoner 10 Berthier. Iginagawad ang kagawarang medalya ng kagalingan sa praktikal na sining at edukasyon sa computer kay Troy Marcel D. Rementina ng Pamplona 10 UP. Iginagawad ang kagawarang medalya ng kagalingan sa edukasyon sa buhay Kristiyano kay Rolen Jan E. Muanya ng Cardoner 10 Bryant. Iginagawad ang kagawarang medalya ng kagalingan sa Ingles at Agham kay Francis T. Villegas ng Las Torta 10, Gacne. Iginagawad ang kagawarang medalya ng kagalingan sa Filipino kay Erwin F. Arroyo ng Las Torta 10, Ferreres. Iginagawad ang kagawarang medalya ng kagalingan sa matematika kay Pio Rafael S. Ventura ng Pamplona 10, Whitbread. Iginagawad ang kagawarang medalya ng kagalingan sa musika kay Joshua Miguel N. Capili ng Cardoner 10, Canisius. Muli, isang pagbati sa mga nagawaran ng mga medalya para sa kagalingan sa iba't ibang asignatura.
Ipakikilala po ngayon sa inyo ni Ginoong Perfecto R. Guerrero III, katuwang na punong guro para sa ugnayang pang-mag-aaral at paghubog. Ang mga natatanging gawad. Ang Gawad San Juan de Brebeuf, ang Gawad San Estanislao Kostka, at ang Gawad San Ignacio de Loyola.
Ipinagkakaloob ang Gawad San Juan de Brebeuf sa katangi-tanging manlalarong mag-aaral na nakitaan ng kahusayan sa laro at larangan ng palakasan. Angkin ng parangal na ito ang sumusunod na katangian ng manlalarong mag-aaral. Nagsilbi siyang mabuting halimbawa ng pamumuno sa isang pangkat at koponan. Isa siyang huwaran ng kagitingan at kaginoohan sa loob at labas ng laro, at may mataas siyang pagpapahalaga sa kanyang mga tungkuling pang-akademiko. Sa taong ito, ipinagkakaloob ang Gawad San Juan de Brebeuf para sa katangi-tanging manlalarong mag-aaral kay John Gabriel G. Gulmatico ng Cardoner 10, Bryant. Ipinagkakaloob ang Gawad San Estanislao Kostka para sa atinistang may natatanging disiplina sa mag-aaral na pinakalarawan ng wagas na kabutihang asal na hingi-hingi ng paglago bilang mabuting mag-aaral at mamamayan. Inaasahang na ipamalas ng mag-aaral ang mga katangiang ito. Kasipagan sa pagpapaunlad sa mga kagalingang ibinigay ng Diyos sa Kanya, paggalang sa mga tuntunin ng paaralan at mga batas ng bansa, at may kakayahang magtimpi. Sa pangkalahatan, naging instrumento siya ng kapayapaan at pagkakaisa at naging huwaran sa mga kapwa Atenista. Sa taong ito, ipinagkakaloob ang Gawad San Estanislao Kostka para sa Atenistang may natatanging disiplina kay Roland John E. Muanya ng Cardoner 10, Bryant. Ipinagkakaloob ang Gawad San Ignacio de Loyola sa katangi-tanging pinuno. Angkin ng gawad na ito ang sumusunod na katangian ng isang pinunong mag-aaral. Pagpapahalaga at pagmamalasakit sa bawat pinaglilingkuran niya, kahusayan sa kanyang mga gawain sa loob at labas ng klase, tapat at matatag sa mga paninindigan tuwing nagpapasya, lingkod pinunong mapagpakumbaba sa harap ng tagumpay at kabiguan, at hinihikayat at binibigyan ng iba ng pagkakataong maging mahusay. Sa taong ito, ipinagkakaloob ang Gawad San Ignacio de Loyola para sa katangi-tanging pamumuno kay Jack Zachary Thaddeus P. Ponce ng Montserrat 10, Majan.
Ipakikilala po ngayon sa inyo ni Ginoong Jose Antonio P. Salvador, punong guro na nakababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila, ang tatanggap ng Gawad Lux Indomino para sa taong ito.
Ang gawad lux in domino sa pinakahuwaran ng pagiging Atenista, ang pinakamahalagang medalyang maaaring ipagkaloob sa magtatapos sa ikasampung baitang sa nakababatang mataas na paaralan Ateneo de Manila. Ginagawad ito bilang pagkilala sa mag-aaral na sa pananaw ng paaralan ay sukdulang kumakatawan sa mga dakilang simulaing itinataguyod ng Ateneo sa kanyang mga mag-aaral. Sipag at sigasig sa pag-aaral, katapatan sa mga layunin at mithiin ng paaralan, walang sawang pag-alay ng sarili sa pagtupad ng tungkulin, pagiging bukas palad, pagkukusa, at walang pasubaling paglilingkod sa kapwa. Isang tunay na tao para sa at kasama ang kapwa. Sa taong ito, ipinagkakaloob ng gawad Lux in Domino para sa pinakahuwarang ng pagiging Atenista kay Amable Miguel Enrique K. Aguiluz the 19th ng Las Torta 10 Garnier. Maligayang pagbati sa iyo, Ginoong Aguiluz.
Life is a bumpy road, my dad often reminded me. It wouldn't always be smooth sailing. You'd have to go through all sorts of obstacles, cracks, and bumps. But at the end of the day, you will always get to your destination. To get there, however, you need resilience. For those of you who don't know me, I was born with a severe peanut allergy and severe atopic dermatitis, or skin eczema. Sadly, but not unfortunately, I carry this condition up to this day. I am extremely sensitive to dust, heat, and sweat. In fact, it is probably why I am as red as a tomato right now. Always was, and probably always will be. If there's one thing you can't avoid in the Ateneo campus, it's the heat. From prep all the way to grade 9 every day, I went home in the afternoons covered in sweat. I scratched and scratched to the point of not being able to identify where I was bleeding from most of the time. The itch was so bad that at one point, I realized that I prefer pain to itch. Whenever I took baths, I felt like I was on fire. My whole body hurt from head to toe. I would often come out of the washroom crying, but I would give myself 5 minutes to feel bad, acknowledge my pain, validate my self-worth, and move on. I didn't let that stop me. I did my best despite the cards I was dealt. I put all of my energy into working hard, counting my blessings, persevering. But that wasn't the end of the slew of challenges I had to conquer. I experienced emergency trips to the hospital due to pyrogomyitis flares, cellulitis, pyogenic granuloma, many of which are difficult to pronounce, but even more difficult to bear. But on the 5th grade, I experienced my cannonball moment. I was hospitalized due to a very aggressive type of pneumonia. My oxygen dropped to the 80s, my lungs were covered in fluid, I almost died. I spent every day in the hospital thinking about my what ifs. What if I miss this? What if I may never get to do that? What if I don't make it and never have the chance again? Which is why as soon as I got better, I promised myself I would do more, pray more, work more, serve more, and even play more. And in my heart, I knew it. I felt it. Enjoyment, contentment, happiness. When I entered AJHS, I gladly embraced greater responsibilities. I challenged myself with my first batch of duties, becoming a class president of classmates who have now become friends, batchcom head in grade 7, as well as the cluster batch rep for Las Torta. Despite being new in the junior high, I took the plunge and welcomed these responsibilities graciously. I remember having to run from the Las Torta cluster all the way to the OSA every day. It was sort of like a workout. I was assured of 15,000 steps a day. Each year until grade 9, I would run for the position of class president, volunteer for the batchcom head position, offer to be the CBR for my grade level, and I would accept whatever position of service was bestowed upon me. Not for whatever personal glory it gave, but simply because I loved what I was doing. I wanted to help. I wanted to serve. And while I thought that I was making a difference, my personal experience was also making me different. I remember starting my peanut immunotherapy treatments when I was in grade 9. The medical treatment required me to be absent once a month, and sometimes flying back at midnight to go back to school early the next day with a headache was not easy. But I was happy to be back in school. And while I was carrying my personal pain on the side, this time it is not a source of discomfort anymore, but my weapon for resilience. As grade 9 was coming to a close, the election process for AJHS began. There were so many posters, materials, and advertisements urging students to run. Seeing this every day, the lingering thoughts lit a fire inside me. Each day that got closer to the end of the school year, I just felt more and more sure. On the exact day that the sign-up sheets were released, I simply wrote from the heart and submitted my candidacy for Sangu Chair without looking back, without thinking twice. Our last school year together, like I described many times before, was truly a year unlike any other. Although the Sangu Chair holds the highest position in the junior high school student body, I would always consider this a seat of service, rather than a seat of power, which I am humbly privileged to have been given. Unfortunately, I was only able to lead behind the screen, but fortunately, I was able to cultivate many friendships, work with amazingly great people, and together with their team and the support of our administrators and mentors, followed through with our promise to unite our batch, to showcase student talents, deliver fundraising projects, and guide our batch in adjusting and easing into the online learning, as we all rise above this uniquely different situation. Indeed, sabay-sabay tayong bumangon. I remember being scared when I first went into Ateneo. Everything was so alien to me. The concept of an ideal Atenean was a big pair of shoes to fill, especially for a young, allergic boy such as myself. But through the years, the people behind the Ateneo helped me see that despite my allergies, despite the burdens I carry, despite what I lack, I can still be more. I will forever be grateful and indebted to have met people who made my entire Ateneo junior high school journey more comfortable, meaningful, fulfilling, and of course, fun. Even if I faced a lot of hardships, even if I was challenged, even though much blood, sweat, and tears were shed, I wouldn't have it any other way. At any given time, I would do it all over again. Thank you, Ateneo. Thank you to all my mentors who I met along the way. Thank you to my awesome moderator, Sir Apple, who guided me through my 4 years of student leadership. You have inspired me to keep going despite the expected bumps. Thank you to our headmaster, Mr. Salvador, who first met me as the severely itchy boy back in prep, but continuously believed in me. Thank you for making my first recommendation letter for the position I took in grade 7 as the cluster batch rep. Thank you, my Las Torta cluster coordinator for 4 years, Ma'am Pog Santos, for being like a second mom, a great mentor, and for truly making us feel that sa Las Torta, lahat ay bida. Thank you to my grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, and grade 10 moderators who took me in and adjusted to my many needs. You all treated me like family, and I will never forget the lessons that you imparted. Thank you for the wonderful experiences that have molded me into the person I am today. Thank you for worrying and sometimes panicking whenever somebody brings peanuts in their recess snacks. But most of all, thank you for treating me the way you did. Thank you to the A-team and the administrators for supporting our projects and helping us make it happen. Thank you to all my teachers who have taught us things and life lessons no amount of books could ever do. Thank you to my friends from different grade levels and batchmates. Thank you for trying your best to make the Ateneo as peanut-free as you can. For resisting the urge to buy chocolate from the Satcaf, no matter how cheap and yummy it is. Thank you for the gift of friendship, the time, the fun memories, online and offline, which I will always cherish. Thank you to my secret Yaya Emmy, who has been with me since I was born. Mas grabe ka pa kay Mommy, but thank you. Special thank you to my mom and pop. Each challenge I faced, we faced together. You were there to support me no matter what the cost. I love you, mom and pop. These 16 years of life have been so much easier with you both behind me. I would like to thank my whole family. You all stood by me for all the 16 years of my life, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. Thank you for never giving up on me, even if taking care of me was not easy. Thank you for unconditionally making sacrifices for me, especially when I was sick. Thank you for always believing in me, for never making me feel any less, but always more. Last but not least, I thank the Lord for being with me all through this journey, for giving me just what I could bear, sometimes a little bit more, but that's okay, because in the end, you have given me the beautiful gift of resilience. Today, I share the award bestowed upon me with all of you, as I could definitely not have done it without you. Reflecting on what I said in the beginning, life is indeed a bumpy road. I am very far from my destination. There are so many more cracks, obstacles, and hurdles to get past. However, I can say without a doubt, with the values that the Ateneo has helped instill in me, inspired by the spirit of Lux in Domino, as we live out our goal of being men for others, in service of others, I know, I am certain, we will get there. Thank you, Ateneo, from the bottom of my heart.
Ipakikilala po sa inyo ngayon ni Ginoong Jose Antonio P. Salvador, punong guro ng nakababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila, ang ating panauhing tagapagsalita.
Dear students, parents, and guardians, colleagues and friends, and fellow administrators in the Ateneo Junior High School and in the Ateneo de Manila University. I think by now you probably have seen and heard the latest version of the school's alma mater song, which we customarily sing at the end of events such as school-wide masses. You know, this video of the alma mater song was the handiwork of the legendary Jubilarian high school batch of 1995, of which our closing ceremony speaker was part of. Well, not only is this batch legendary in the sense that it has produced such promising young leaders across different disciplines, no? In government, in education, in entrepreneurship, and even media and performing arts. No? It was also this batch who celebrated their jubilee this year, undeterred by this COVID crisis and with nothing else in mind but to inspire confidence that we are greater together, and together we can make a difference in the lives of many. Let me introduce to you our speaker, Mr. Aaron Palileo, is the co-founder of CIA Bootleg Manila, a brand and innovation consulting firm with headquarters in Manila and Tokyo. He is also the ASEAN Director of Creative Intelligence Associates, the Brand Architect Group, one of Tokyo's most respected brand strategy firms. Aaron authored 2 books which I urge you to read as I did. The first is the Creative Handbook, a guide for future creatives. And the second is Connect, Disconnect, how to be a creative and innovative opportunity seeker. Mr. Palileo is also faculty at the Masters in Entrepreneurship program at the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, and he is a lecturer at the Interdisciplinary Studies Department of the Ateneo de Manila University. He's also a member of Creative Education Foundation, the world's oldest foundation dedicated to creativity and innovation. You know, he has worked with many prominent companies, no, as a brand and innovation consultant and as a teacher and facilitator in creativity and innovation workshops. Mr. Palileo earned his MBA from the Asian Institute of Management with a double major in marketing and entrepreneurship. And he took AB Interdisciplinary Studies, minor in Business and Communications at the Ateneo de Manila University. We hope you will be as inspired as I was to listen to the narratives that our speaker will share. These are narratives that inspire us and inspire in us the confidence to turn crisis into opportunity. So my dear friends of the Ateneo Junior High School, Mr. Aaron Emerson A. Palileo.
Hello, fellow Ateneans, and congratulations on completing not just junior high school, but also what could arguably be one of the most challenging academic years that anyone has faced in recent history. Speaking of rising above the pandemic challenge, last year I was fortunate enough to have been part of the core group responsible for staging the 2020 Grand Ateneo Alumni Homecoming. Since my own high school batch, 1995, was the Silver Jubilarian host. From the very start, we wanted this particular homecoming to be different from the previous ones. We didn't want it to be a simple party, a simple reunion. We wanted it to stand for something deeper. And so, guided by the principle of Magis, the Ignatian tenet of pursuing greatness and in being the best that you can be, and ultimately in being of service to others, we developed the theme Magis 2020 Greater Together. This would be the beacon that would inspire past, present, and future Athenians to live up to their commitment of being people for others. That was our vision. We began 2020 by putting things into motion. We connected and started collaborating with Ateneo Alumni Association, different Ateneo offices, people from different batches, independent Atenean entrepreneurs and talents, as well as other individuals who just wanted to help out. We were on a roll. And then the pandemic happened. And for a while, our spirits were down, our plans seemed futile, and we were at a loss. But rather than surrendering in defeat and helplessness, we became inspired by the spirit of Magis and being greater together. We were galvanized to take action. We evolved our plans into those that would facilitate recovery and impart hope to as many people as possible. This renewed response to the challenge was symbolized by veering away from calling it an alumni homecoming. Instead, we envisioned an even greater Ateneo Grand Alumni Hope coming. We knew we needed to give hope to those in need. And so we created our banner project, Ateneo Tulong Sulong, a training program that aims to provide sustainable livelihood for vulnerable communities. We partnered with 4 successful Atenean social enterprises who will in turn train up to 400 people from vulnerable communities all struggling during the pandemic. The end goal is for these livelihood scholars to bounce back from poverty, through employment and entrepreneurial opportunities. This is one of the most important lessons I've learned during these trying times. That when setbacks occur, we have a choice to let the setback trample us or to let it bring out the greatness not only within ourselves, but also of those around us. Like the virus, the pursuit of greatness is contagious. It actually awakens that part of us that desires to be better and to do better. And so, with all this contagion of greatness, our humble plans for a digital homecoming even became more ambitious and grander. One of these big ideas was a major event called the Ateneo Creative Fest. It was an online festival which showcased the talent of various Ateneans, from current grade school and high school students and even teachers to college students, all the way to graduates from the school decades ago. We had musicians, dancers, artists, poets. We had big legendary names like RJ Jacinto, the Itchy Worms, Jose Marie Chan, and your very own headmaster here in Ateneo Junior High, Mr. Joni Salvador. 20 to 30 people and talents, all painstakingly sharing their time and skills for the chance to stir up Ateneo pride. Held a week before the actual homecoming, it was an opportunity to rally the entire community towards our cause, attracting over 9,000 viewers on the night itself. It's amazing how adversity can allow you to suddenly do things that you never thought were possible. What some perceive as limitations can actually be the means to unleashing creativity and opening up new possibilities. We could have had a pretty simple and straightforward online homecoming, but we wanted to take advantage of everything that this digital medium and being in quarantine could allow us to do. For one thing, we were able to do a series of playful and creative videos. On the night itself, we opened the event with a prayer recited by Parokya ni Edgar's Chito Miranda, who immediately after broke into a classic Blue Babble cheer, along with our own batchmates and the current members of the Blue Babble Battalion. We had renowned Ateneans from Apo Hiking Society singing a song about togetherness and friendship with the current students of the Ateneo's musician pool. We also had the internationally renowned toy designer Quicks and the street artist Distort Monsters, both Ateneo alumni, create exclusive works for Magis 2020. But our most ambitious undertaking was the creation of a new version of our beloved alma mater song. It had two important components that we needed to simultaneously address: the song itself and the video. To embody the Greater Together spirit, we formed a team of accomplished music producers, sound engineers, and musicians, alumni and current students both, to rearrange and record the song in a way that will inspire the Ateneo community. After dozens of Zoom meetings, recordings, and iterations, the song was finally completed without anyone being in the same room together ever. Now, as for the video, we wanted to show our campus in a way that reflected its energy and spirit, which was obviously a huge challenge considering that the doors were closed and the hallways were empty. Our videos director, alumnus Paulo Abella, was fixated with a thought: if only these walls could talk, oh, the stories it would tell. Then came the inspired idea to project actual photos and videos onto the school's iconic buildings and structures. Once again, various members of the Ateneo community shared thousands of photos and videos, making the final video feel personal and communal. The December 5 Alumni Homecoming event itself was a success, with over 23,000 people from all over the world watching simultaneously. Various Ateneans from all over the world even joined via live feed. So even if we were all physically apart, we somehow felt close together. Needless to say, it was a success. We could have actually just stopped and moved on after the festivities were done. After all, we were able to give our Ateneo community a great event. But we know that the need to give hope to others will never end. It's been 5 months since that online event, and we are still working. Ateneo Tulong Sulong is now an official project of the Ateneo Alumni Association, fully supported by the university. Our pilot community is now underway, and we are still working with various Ateneans and organizations to ensure that Tulong Sulong is fully financed and operational. We still want to help people. These are the lessons I want to share with you today. Let's not forget that we should not only try to survive challenges, but more importantly, turn those challenges into opportunities for us to create and innovate, thereby improving ourselves in the process. You can also take comfort in the fact that there would be great and wonderful people ready to help you as long as you're pursuing something worthwhile. They will gladly give their time, energy, and talents to any endeavor that simultaneously allows them to improve and to help others. Pursuing Magis is not easy, but definitely rewarding. You have to constantly push yourself to go beyond your current successes and competencies when it's so much easier to settle. Because you know, in doing so, not only will you improve yourself, but the lives of others. As you all move into the next chapter of your lives, may you all remain constant and true to your own greatness. Athenians, gentlemen, congratulations.
Padre Sumpay ko, ikinagagalak kong ipahayag na sapagkat matagumpay na natapos ng mga sumusunod na mag-aaral ang kurso ng nakababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila ng Pamantasang Ateneo de Manila. Pinatutunayan sila ngayong karapat-dapat na tumanggap ng sertipiko ng nakababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila. Bilang pangalawang Pangulo ng Batayang Edukasyon, pinagtitibay ko ang pahayag ng punong guro ng nakababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila tungkol sa pagiging karapat-dapat ng mga sumusunod na mag-aaral na tumanggap ng sertipiko ng kababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila.
Alinsunod sa kapangyarihang ipinagkaloob sa akin ng Republika ng Pilipinas bilang Pangulo ng Pamantasang Ateneo de Manila, tinatanggap kong karapat-dapat ang mga kandidatong idinudulog ngayon na tumanggap ng sertipiko ng nakababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila kasama ng mga karapatan at mga pribilehiyong nauukol dito.
Ihaharap po sa inyo ngayon ng mga pinuno ng cluster at ng mga tagapayo ang mga magtatapos sa bawat klase.
Hello, Ateneo de Manila Junior High School Cardonera Batch 2021. It's easy to understand why you're such a special batch. You're the first batch in the history of the junior high school to completely experience an entire school year purely online. Years from now, when you have your own kids and grandkids, no doubt you'll describe how surreal this past school year was. Going to class without physically leaving your homes or even your bedrooms. Completing group projects without seeing your group mates face to face. Attending school events and masses without even stepping into the covered courts. And yet, despite all the strangeness and all the struggles of this past year, you're here. You've crossed the finish line. You've made it. Mission accomplished. Of course, it wasn't easy, and we're all looking forward to much better days, months, and years ahead. But at the same time, I hope you guys look at this past year and try to see how it made you stronger, wiser, and better people. How you've actually grown. And aside from that, over the past 4 years of watching over your batch, I've seen you guys perform really, really well many times. In numerous chances, you've displayed high levels of creativity, integrity, and leadership. I'm extremely proud to send you all off to senior high school, and I wish you well in everything you do in the future. Remember, Batch 2021, Your spirit is strong. And because you're all here at the end of such a difficult road, you've shown us, you've shown everyone, with perseverance, resilience, hard work, and a lot of hope, we can find a way, we can succeed, and we can overcome. You showed us that. Never forget that. Despite all the bad news and gloomy developments around us, remember that hope can shine through in the people around you, in your passion, in what you say, in what you do, and the dreams you have. Your dreams are not canceled. Hope is not canceled. The present and the future are not canceled. All these are yours for the taking. As you go on your way, I hope you don't forget all the values that we try to instill in you, your mentors, your teachers. Values like Magis, 5 C's, Cura Personalis, and of course, doing everything ad majorem Dei Gloria. And so congratulations again, Ateneo de Manila Junior High School, Cardonair, Batch 2021.
I would like to begin by saying I am relieved that our ceremony is virtual this year because, for sure, number one, I'm an emotional kind of guy, and you guys are my first moderating class. So if I were forced to read your names one by one and see you go up on stage, you would have seen a few tears from me. And second would be that, look, we're finally here. We've made it despite all the challenges and the trials that we've had of this school year. None of us expected this online school year. It was like a scientific experiment for all of us. But despite the fact that it looked like an experiment, I still came up with hypothesis as we began this school year, and that was I hypothesized that it would have a significant positive effect on the lives of 10 Berkeley students. And with that, we banded together to come up with our objectives, our class goals, which I can summarize into three main ones. The first class goal is that you wanted to do well academically. And in that regard, the teachers just couldn't get enough of how creative you were, how intelligent you were all year, how much effort you would put into their assessment tasks and whatnot. And to be honest with you, the one data that matters is that 100% of us have made it past grade 10, have made it into the next stage of our life past junior high. And so the first objective, well and truly met. Good job. The second objective could be a personal one. You guys wanted to compete in whatever contest the school had in this online setup. And whether it was the numerous gaming competitions that you guys won or the academic competitions that you did very well in, like the RP Congress, you guys were just excellent. Despite the fact that the opportunities were very limited, you guys grabbed them with both hands and you guys distinguish yourselves time and time again. And as a gamer teacher, I couldn't be prouder of how well you did in terms of these competitions that involve games and that involve academics. And so with that, I would consider our second objective, we truly exceeded expectations. And the third and final objective is perhaps the most challenging one. You guys wanted greater class unity. And it's challenging because we were a diverse class. Some of you like basketball, some like volleyball, some like football. Some were not even athletic at all. Some of you like Korean music, some of you like Filipino music. Some of you were class clowns and some of you were very serious. And yet, the most important thing for me, when we needed it most, you guys banded together. There's an unbreakable bond. When someone needed help in the group chat, there was always someone quick to help. Whenever you did something wrong, when a teacher scolded at you, myself included, you guys were united in trying to make amends and to apologize. And third would be whenever somebody accomplished something in class, you guys were united in congratulating that person, being happy for that person, and being proud of something that the class accomplished. And to me, all of those are indicators that you guys have united very well this year. And so, what is my scientific conclusion after all of this? Well, I think it's simple. The hypothesis is accepted, guys, because the school year had a significant positive effect on the lives of 10 Berkeley students. And so with that, I just have a few recommendations as you pursue further studies. First and foremost, I hope that you keep being students who are passionate and enthusiastic about so many things because diversity is our power. The second thing would be that I hope that you guys, whenever the going gets tough, when you are faced with an overwhelming breakdown, you would push for that undeniable breakthrough. You guys would band together with your future friends, your future classmates, and whatnot, or your future colleagues, because unity is our strength. And the third and final objective, or the third and final recommendation rather, would be that I hope that you guys would continue having that silent determination that you are humble, but you want to compete among the best because you could. Because you guys this year have defied gravity. And I hope you keep doing that as you go forward. And so, with that, for the very last time, my dear 10 birthday class, out gates and padaya. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klaseng Saint Jacques Berthieu, Vincent Joachim P. Abella, Augusto Victor T. Abola, Luis Gabriel B. Aguilar, Joaquin Miguel C. Angin, Jerwin Gabriel M. Arada, Cedric A. Aranza Mendez, Ryan Matthew L. Balicusto, Sean Christopher A. Baltazar, Ross Adrian S. Bartolome, Jose Ricardo L. Blanco, Joaquin Gabriel P. Casiquin, Ron Tristan U. De Guzman, Andrew Lloyd L. De La Cruz, Emiliano Jacinto C. Duque, Sebastian Alan M. Estrada, Marcos Colin S. Flores, Rafael Paulo T. Gala, David Enrico T. Galvez, Juan Carlos S. Goles, Peter James S. Guevara, Jose Marie M. Lee, Alejandro S. Lim Jr., Stephen Evan V. Luna, Rafael Antonio T. Lunod, Joseph Emmanuel B. Makuha, Josh Emmanuel G. Pagalidawa, Jose Miguel P. Pala, Carlitos U. Punsalan, Joaquin Antonio C. Ramos, Allen Peter F. Roldan, Rosh Miguel S. Santos, Tristan Jacob S. C., Matthew Ethan P. Tanchoco, Paulo Rafael B. Velez, Roman Tadeo L. Venturina, Rodolfo Rafael G. Zabala, and Carlo Miguel Jesu Melesio M. Zuniga. Muli, ang mga nagtapos mula sa klaseng Saint Jacques Berthieu, isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Para sa minamahal kong mga anak mula sa klase ng Brian. Ngayon na tayo ay patapos na, bigla kong naalala kung paano tayo unang nagkita. May malaking ngiti sa labi at puno ng kasiyahan sa inyong mga mata. Ang iba ay sabik at ang ilan ay may takot. Halo-halong emosyon kung paano natin tatapusin ang kasalukuyang taon. Hindi naging madali ang ating pinagdaanan. Mga hindi inaasahang dagok ating naranasan. Pagsubok sa tahanan, pagkadapa at pagnanais ng bumitaw. Suko na ako, ang isip ay isinisigaw. Mga hamon may matindi, kalakip nito'y matatag na samahan. Bawat isa'y inalalayan at ginabayan. Ating klase ang naging sandalan, panalangin ang piniling sandigan. Sa panibagong yugto na inyong tatahakin, mga guro nyo'y tanging hangad ay tagumpay ang tamasin. Huwag niyo sana kalimutan mga turo na bumuo sa inyong pagkatao. Baunin ito saan man patungo. Mamuhay tulad ng mga santo. Ipaglaban kung ano ang wasto. Kayo nasusunod sa yapak ng mga namumuno. Aming pag-asa sa para sa mas makataong mundo. Ako ay bilib sa tapang na inyong pinakita. Puso'y puno ng saya pagkat tayo'y nagkasama. Sa saglit na panahon na ating pagsasama, makabuluhang alaala, panghabang buhay nakatatak sa aking alaala. Salamat at paalam aking sasanggiting, mga landas nating sana'y muling pagtagpuin. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klase St. Alexander Bryant, Luis Arwin A. Alpia, Ethan Gabriel F. Aquino, Joaquin Rain G. Artes, Thomas Robert A. Cabrera, Ethan Jacob F. Castillo, Simon Carl Lawrence N. Cruz, Lorenzo Alfonso D. De Jesus, Daryl E. D. Marcus Jet M. Esteban, Joaquin Manuel C. Fidel, Gerardo Miguel A. Flores, Jose Eduardo E. Godupo, John Gabriel G. Gulmatico, Kirk Heinrich C. Maglansakan, Aidan Joaquin A. Magdato, Geo Maceo R. Miradora, Roland John E. Momano, R.V. Raven F. Paburones, Jose Emmanuel C. Pabulayan, Paul Gerard M. Pagdilaw, Leondre Joseph M. Paras, Leon Ricardo R. Pavia, Cian Oscar M. Picardan, John Benedict James C. Porter, Manuel Josue O. Rosario, Carol Claudio Antonio B. Ruiz, Carl Andre T. Salas, Matthew J. San Diego, Christian Oswald S. Santilices, John Matthew L. Santos, Joaquin Enrique B. Senior, Richard Cody C. Soriano, Roberto Miguel S. Canchanco, Raymond Benedict S. Taya, Elrond G. Valdez, Andre M. Viloria, at Tyler Felix O. Zamuto. Muli ang mga nagtapos sa klaseng St. Alexander Brian. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
To my dear moderating class, today's success is part of your many unrecognized and mostly tear-filled victories, not just from this school year, but the rest of your junior high school life. What made your success this school year extra meaningful is that many of you had to battle through the storm when Typhoon Ulysses badly hit your homes. I recall how concerned you were when one of your classmates, who lives in one of the badly hit areas of the typhoon, did not respond to your messages and calls. I was amazed when one of you volunteered to clean up your community chapel with mud reaching up to your ankles. I was struck by your love for family when one of you never left your grandmother alone when the rising floodwaters started entering your home. I am overwhelmed by your commitment to studies, even when your unfortunate situation disheartened and worn you down. You stayed with your family to clean up the mess of the typhoon, even if you had the choice to stay with your relatives and study undisturbed. Gentlemen, looking back on those experiences and all the challenging moments of the year that has been, I believe that the words of St. Paul capture perfectly the lessons which all of you can hold on to as you move on with your lives. I may speak with every tongue that men and angels use, yet if I lack charity, I am no better than echoing bronze or the clash of cymbals. I may have the powers of prophecy, no secret hidden from me, no knowledge too deep for me. I may have utter faith so that I can move mountains. Yet if I lack charity, I count for nothing. I may give away all that I have to feed the poor. I may give myself up to be burnt at the stake. If I lack charity, it goes for nothing. Charity is patient, is kind. Charity feels no envy. Charity is never perverse or proud, never insolent, does not claim its rights, cannot be provoked, does not brood over an injury, takes no pleasure in wrongdoing, but rejoices at the victory of truth, sustains, believes, hopes, endures to the last. Congratulations to all of you and to your families. Ang mga magtatapos sa klaseng St. Peter Canisius S.J. Mark Timothy G. Abordo, Larry Gabriel T. Abukay, Juan Luis S. Arroyo, Paul Daniel G. Kabakungan, Andre Nicolan O. Camara, Joshua Miguel N. Capili, Jude Dominic A. Cristobal, Joaquin Isaac M. Cruz, Joaquin Gabriel F. Deluria,
Jacob Elijah A. Joquino, Lance Christopher Ricardo C. Dizon, Agustino Luis R. Dumlao, Robin C. Estacio, Francisco Dominic J. Fernandez, Giro Gabriel G. Gafford, Joaquin Frederick S. Jeronimo, Benjamin T. Gozo, Rosendo M. Hamo III, Joaquin Lorenzo C. Javier, Roy Gabriel N. Licop, Alfonso Luis C. Loja, Francis Leo S. Lopez, Cole Carmine U. Mamangon, Emilio Miguel A. Marquina, George A. Mendoza, Juan Felipe R. Mendoza, Joaquin Andres C. Mercado, Jose Marie M. Milo II, Jairus Charles P. Monsayak, Lebron Joseph M. Nieto, Rafael Alfonso S. Paglia, Reuben Salvador D. Poruganan, Joaquin C. Sagun, Vicente Ignacio R. Santos, Gabriel Jose M. Shapno, Francis Miguel Z. Solanoy, Vigo Sebastian V. Viraggio, Andre Daniel P. Villarin, at Mateo Agustin L. Vistan. Muli, ang nagtapos sa klaseng St. Peter Canisius, SJ. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. This was the quote that welcomed you in school year 2020 to 2021. It was the banner of our homeroom Google Classroom, and I used it in our very first reflection in class. In the context of game or sports, fear of striking out means fear of failing to hit the ball or reach the base. Similarly, we were filled with fears before the online school year started. We feared that goals may not be achieved or expectations may not be met. We feared various changes, challenges, uncertainties, and failures. But as each day passed, these fears turned into something worth remembering and sharing. Allow me to expound this by defining each letter of your section, Shabanel. C. Courage was one of your weapons this year. It helped you grow, discover yourself, and face all obstacles head on. And then there's H. Hope. It awoke you from the nightmares brought about by the pandemic. You served as a beacon of hope to each member of the class through your personal stories and reflections. Your stories and context paved the way to the next letter, A. Acceptance. You embraced each other's flaws and shortcomings. The class may not be perfect, but you were each other's stronghold because of your unique personalities. You were not afraid to be yourself. And that's my cue to the next letter, B. Being yourself is probably the characteristic that stands out in this class. You speak what's on your mind in exchange with funny banters. You get straight to the point and express it whenever there's something that needs to be done and corrected. There's just so much sincere genuineness in this class. As I move forward to the second half of this acrostic, let me continue by imparting some words that I hope you will keep in mind. A. Another beginning is about to unfold as this chapter of your junior high school life comes to a close. Remember N, which is to never forget what and why you kept going, what made you braver, and who were there for you every step of the way. Because E, each of you is filled with potentials and talents. Do not keep them dormant, because people deserve to witness your capability of greatness, of changing the cruel realities of this world and making an impact in this society. So for the final part, L, live your dreams. Don't let society's definition of success hinder or dictate your actions. Go make mistakes, take risks, but stand up once again and redeem yourself. Create your own success and serve. When you look back to this school year, you will be proud of yourselves because you did not just survive, you thrived. The game is far from over, but you have already conquered a big part of it. You did very well, Tensya Banel. Ang mga magtatapos sa klaseng Saint Noel Shabanel. Jaime Alfonso R. Alvarez. Marcelino T. Atienza III. Nathan Erindel P. Batnag. Enrico Rafael S. Castillo. Elijah Patrick A. Chavez. Jules Vino D. Corpus. Russell Matthew C. De Jesus. Rafael Theodore B. Demo. John Daryl Sherwin T. Diaz. Kian Ashley V. Duroja. Angel Timothy D. Elizaga. Lehan Enzo S. Galang. Jaime Miguel S. Inocentes. Robert Gabriel B. Isip. Roberto G. Haimalin III. Rio Cecil C. Jorge. Jeremiah Angelo B. Lim. Enzo Nicolas M. Macatuno. Julius Miguel C. Maranya. Francisco Alberto C. Medina. Giro Jose R. Miranda. Lauro C. Pases III. Thomas Benedict M. Paclep. Jules Gabriel Romeo L. Padilla. Arsin Riggs D. Pesa, Sean Russell S. Ramirez, David Johan M. Raquel, Paulo Lorenzo L. Rayel, Nicholas James L. Rosario, Jose Giancarlo B. Rojas, Francis N. Santos, Rafael Luis T. Santos, Gabriel Inigo S. Torres, Adrian Joseph V. Viray, Stephen M. Yabut, Inigo Antonio P. Yamamoto, at Arthur S. Yun. Muli, ang mga nagtapos sa klaseng Saint Noel Chabanel. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Isang masayang araw sa inyo, mga minamahal kong Lastortans. Dumating na ang araw na inyong pinakahihintay, ang inyong pagtatapos sa Ateneo Junior High School. Nakatutuwa na lahat kayo ay nagpakita ng tibay at tapang sa pagharap sa hamon ng pandemya. Nagbunga na ang inyong pagsisikap. Papunta na kayo sa senior high school. Ang tanging hiling ko sa bawat isa sa inyo ay baunin at isabuhay ang mga aral na nakuha ninyo sa inyong mga guro at mahalin ng lubos ang inyong mga magulang at kapatid. Piliin lagi ang mabuti at gawin ng tama at nararapat. Higit sa lahat, patuloy na manalangin sa ating Panginoon. Maligayang araw ng pagtatapos. Tandaan, sa Lastorta, lahat ay bida. Sa Lastorta, tayo ay isang pamilya.
Magandang araw, Tenfereres. Bago ang lahat, nais ko kayong batiin sa matagumpay ninyong pagtatapos. Hindi naging madali ang taong ito para sa inyo. Subalit na itawid ninyo, natin ito. Gusto ko lang sabihin na proud ako, 10 ng inyong mga guro at ng inyong mga pamilya sa inyong lahat. Hindi lamang sa mga nagawa ninyo, kundi sa mga magagawa pa. Hindi lamang sa kung sino kayo ngayon, kundi sa kung magiging sino kayo sa hinaharap. Nakasampay sa balikat ninyo ang kinabukasan. Hindi lamang ng mga sarili ninyo, kundi ng ating bayan. Paulit-ulit kong binabanggit ang 3 susunod na kataga, kaya sana hindi ninyo ito basta-basta malimutan. Una, lagi kong sinasabi ang pagiging higit pa. Higit pa o majes o more. Higit pa dahil higit pa kayong pinagpala kaysa inyong inaakala. Nasa sa inyo na lang kung paano ninyo gagamitin ang mga biyayang ito. Higit pa dahil higit pa ang inyong kakayahan na magmahal at umunawa. Kahit paanong nababasa at napapanood ninyo sa balita, patuloy sana kayong maniwala na may kabutihan pa sa mundo. Ngunit higit sa lahat, higit pa bilang isang imbitasyon. Higit pa o pull. Higit pa nating palapitin ang ating mga sarili sa Diyos, sa ating mga pamilya, kaibigan, at sa ating kapwa. Ikalawa, ang pagiging sapat na. Sapat na o satis o enough. Sapat na sapagkat sapat na ang ikaw ngayon na bunga ng iyong kahapon. Kahit pa anong nangyari noon, kaya mo pa rin magbago at lumago. Sapat na, sapagkat sapat nang manatili ka muna at di agad-agad tumalon. Minsan, kailangan din nating namnamin ang mga mumunting sandali. At sapat na, sapagkat sapat na itong paalala na awat na. Sapat na hindi dahil sumusuko tayo, kundi naghahanda tayo para sa mas malaki at mas maraming hamon. At huli, ang pag-abot sa abot ng ating makakaya. Pangarap man yon para sa ating mga sarili o paggawa ng isang hindi matapos-tapos na gawain o kahit literal na pag-abot sa isa't isa. Gawin natin ang lahat sa abot ng makakaya. Sa abot ng makakaya. At ngayon, bilang pabaon ko sa inyo, hayaan ninyong tulaan ko kayo. Dahil para kayong mga mumunting agila na lilisan na sa pugad ng AJHS, hayaan ninyong akayin kayo ng tulang ito. Munting agila, lumipad. O munting agila, ika'y lumipad mula sa tahanang pugad. Sa init ng araw ay bumilad, ng mundo'y iyong magalugad. Tulad ng pagtulak ng isang inahin, humayo ka sa malawak na papawirin. Hayaan mong maduyan kat dalhin ng malayang ihip ng hangin. Aminin na natin kung tutuusin. Sariwa pa ang iyong mga pakpak. Harapin mo pa rin ng buong galak. Simbuyo ng bagyong sumasalpak. Kidlat at kulog ang sayo'y papalakpak. Patak ng ulan ang sayo'y makikihalakhak. Sukbit ang lahat ng aral sa paaralan, huwag mong kalilimutan. Bahagi ito ng iyong pinanggalingan, bahagi ito ng iyong nakaraan. Talim ng kuko, ikapit mo sa katotohanan ng kasalukuyan. Talas ng mata, ang siya namang ipako sa pangako ng kinabukasan. Tulad ng manok na pinagtatakhan kung bakit tumawid ng daan. Walang iisang direksyon o paraan sa dapat mong patunguhan. O munting agila, ika'y lumipad mula sa tahanang pugad. Si init ng araw ay bumilad, ng mundo'y iyong magalugad. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klaseng Beato Juan Bautista Ferreres, Larry Marco E. Acuña, Javier Alfonso M. Adeboso, Franz Darren S. Aquino, Prince Aaron C. Arubinto, Erwin F. Arroyo, M2 Joaquin L. Asinas, Ryan Philip C. Bartolome II, Inigo 1 V. Bautista, Inigo Vittorio R. Benipayo, Aldous Elijah P. Brigino, Christian Conrad B. Canlas, Jose Luis Antonio R. Cuarteros, Carl Angelo S. de Guzman, Zeb Paulo C. De Leon, Paul Benedict B. Favila, Joseph Rafael B. Gacula, Juan Antonio Rafael L. Hizon, Aaron Gabriel V. Huatco, Paulo M. Lasing, Hans Francis Bride D. Layo, Juan Paulo C. Liorca, Joaquin Angelo D. Luna, Mark Christian F. Manalansan, Kimi Yesu T. Mendoza, Matt Giancarlo P. Molino, Peter Alain B. Morales, Adrian James S. Nolasco, Jaime Alessandro S. Panaligan, Gabriel Antonio O. Punzalan, Miguel Rafael F. Quito, Frederico Nemenzo B. Ragudo, Austin Reyes A. Rivera, Robert Allen G. Soriano, Jeffrey Raul R. Tan, Alfonso Luis T. Tenorio, Mark Ian A. Villapando, at John Timothy Andre E. Yuson. Muli, ang mga nagtapos sa klaseng Beato Juan Bautista Ferreres, isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Hello, Tengarete. Congratulations on your graduation. You're finally moving to senior high school. Right? As you move on to conquer another mountain, bring with you the lessons that the teachers in the junior high school taught you. Be better versions of yourselves, as what other teachers say. And I say, be a better version of who you already are. Hold strong to your values. Remember to keep loving yourself, your parents, okay, and the Lord, of course. You'll be facing new challenges, uncertainties. Dig deeper into your skills, into your experiences, and conquer the new mountains that lie in front of you. Congratulations again. You know that I am not a fan of long goodbyes, so I'll keep it short. Good luck in your journey. Goodbye. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klaseng Blessed Francisco Garate. Gerard Christopher M. Abad Jr. Julian Agustin L. Aceron. Dre Clarence C. Africa. Antonio Luis D. Aguba. Rupert Benedict G. Asayo III. Alfonso Joaquin R. Bacosa. Jose Inigo D. Briscia. Paulo T. Buenvenida. Jose Joaquin C. Capino. Rafael Miguel P. Chan. Jan Cedric C. De Ananeas. Dave John S. Del Mundo. Alessandro Luis L. Del Rosario. Noah Gabriel C. Domingo. Lance Rafael T. Espiritu. Peter Julius M. Estacio. Miguel Dominic D. Flor. Justin Gabriel G. Galien III. Pierre Francis D. Hermosa. Roger Alfred P. Hernandez. Juan Paulo M. Javier. Julian Thomas T. Liantero. Alessandro Gabriel G. Lopez. Luis Massimo L. Ludovice. Mark David S. Marcelo. Jose Andreas A. Medina. Juan Santiago E. Nilo. Joaquin Lorenzo G. Oda. Ezekiel Pierre O. Pascual. Elijah Joseph C. Pobre. Victor Ulrich I. Rivera. Joaquin Javier V. Santillan. Stephen Jethro Ireneo A. Santos V. Nathaniel A. Texon. Andre Joaquin G. Tirona. Ralph Lawrence C. Villame. Pio Antonio O. Yap. At Simon John A. Yu. Muli, ang mga nagtapos sa klaseng Francisco Garate. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Hello, my dear boys. Congratulations. I know this wasn't the scenario that you guys have envisioned as the ending of your journey in junior high school, but I would like to say that I am very, very proud of you. You guys did really well this school year in spite of the new setup that we had. You were able to adjust, and I know next school year you will do even better. Of course, I want to thank you for the whole school year. Indeed, it was tough, but together we were able to push through it. I will continue to include each one of you in my prayers. Congratulations once again, my dear Garnier boys, and good luck in senior high school. Fighting! ang mga magtatapos mula sa klaseng St. Charles Garnier.
Richard Jewel M. Agama. Amable Miguel Enrique K. Aguiluz sa 19th. Juan Javier R. Almoro. Joshua Edward B. Angelical. Sean Angelo E. Asuncion. Alfonso Luis Ignacio E. Atencio. Miguel Luis S. Barreras. Carl Benedict L. Bunas. Bon Gabriel M. Chu. Rafael Benedict R. Clutario. Marcus Jericho F. De Jesus. Kirk Derek T. Del Mundo. Jose Inigo Gregorio S. Del Prado. Christian Roland D. Jokno. Nathan Rose C. Dizon. Keyon R.V. R. Guzman. Rafael Luis Marie R. Lambo. Luis Rafael O. Lazaro. Jean Kurt Alexander Q. Lim. Julian Isaiah M. Manjares. Luis Joaquin E. Manlangit. John Irish F. Mauricio. Zachary Alvin S. Nicart. Juan Roberto G. Pineda. Joseph Ryan M. Reynante. Julian Patrick D. Robles. Francisco Julio N. Rodrigo. Marshall Jordan S. Salandanan. Matthew Rafael A. Salonga. Richmond Kyle S. Tano. Victor Benedict C. Terencio. Manuel Joseph L. Torrevillas IV. Alfredo Vittorio V. Unlayao. Juancho Francisco D. Villaluz. Sean Johan C. Villanueva. At si Francis D. Villegas.
Muli, ang mga nagtapos sa klaseng St. Charles Garnier. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Ilang minuto lang ang inilaan sa akin ngayong taon bilang inyong class moderator at hindi ito sapat para sa isang makabuluhang mensahe. Kaysa sa isang farewell speech, mas mabuti sigurong tayo ay magbalik tanaw sa mga taong tumulong sa atin sa loob ng 4 na taon. Kasama kong bumabati sa inyo ang inyong mga grade 7 teachers na sina Miss Reyno, Mr. Querijero, Mr. Santos, Mr. Angeles, Miss Ko, Miss Manapat, Mrs. Elgar, Mr. Del Rosario, Miss Fernando, Mr. Oracion, Miss Florendo, Mrs. Mandap, Mrs. Albert, Mr. San Jose, at si Mr. De Leon. Kasama ko rin ang inyong mga grade 8 teachers na sina Mr. Ralionza, Miss Alvarez, Miss Olmos, Mr. Olalia, Mr. Samson, Mrs. Ramirez, Mr. Serag, Mr. Apo, Mr. Manapat, Mr. Hilario, Mr. Iolores, Miss Detoyato, Mr. Coronado, Miss Landayan, at si Mrs. Zulueta de la Cruz. Ang inyong mga grade 9 teachers naman na sina Mrs. Falyarna, Miss Paksa, Mr. Galang, Mrs. Lucas, Miss Rosena, Mr. Bonsai, Mr. Victorio, Mrs. Robles, Mr. Ramos, Mr. Kayanan, Mr. Mutok, Mrs. Arandia, at si Miss Madco. Siyempre, kasama rin ang inyong mga grade 10 teachers ngayong taon na sina Mr. Ignacio, Mrs. Ariola Jose, Mrs. Solmerin, Mrs. Ramos, Mr. Aquino, Mr. Falgi, Miss De La Paz, Miss Flores, Miss Brandares, Mr. Crisostomo, Miss Belostrino, Mr. Merida, Mr. Ayun, at si Mr. Olaer. Siyempre, ayoko rin suluhin ang pagkakataon na makapagbigay ng isang send-off. Kaya kasama ng inyong mga class moderators at guidance counselor, paalam at salamat, Helaber. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klaseng Blessed Per Helaber. Angelo Timothy L. Acosta, Paulo Manuel M. Adevoso, Mario Montego A. Aleta, Marcos Alexander D. Asuncion, Santino Andres F. Bravo, Noel Emilio T. Buensuceso, Jesse Nathaniel B. Cabongcal, Jose Alejandro Richie B. Kaliwag III, Harvey Lanzo V. Chua, Vito Lorenzo L. Concepcion, Juan Diego D. David, Ram Alejandro R. De Leon, Jacob Andrew V. Espiritu, Jesus Romeo C. Feliciano, Michael Joshua I. Galimpin, Raikel Matthew R. Garrido, Juan Gabriel M. Herrera, Joaquin Emmanuel M. Hizon, Juan Khalil V. Ibanez, Johan Josh Jacob P. Hota, Jacob Tobias A. Ligo, Juan Santi D. Liboro, Anthony Gabriel C. Luna, Abelardo James S. Manaysay III, Griego Rafael G. Mapanaw, Ethan Renel Sebastian Mislang, Melvin Angelo D. Oliva, Gabriel R. Pasno, Sebastian B. Pelaez, John Paul Matthew D. Kitain, Isaiah Bron P. Raya, Lee Jensen L. Romero, Joaquin Anton C. Sundiang, Roy E. Tayag, John Benedict T. Ulpindo, Javier Inigo T. Villaseñor, at si Raiden Jeco A. Zorilla. Muli ang mga nagtapos sa klaseng Blessed Per Helaber. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
A tree that grows so high must have roots that grow so deep. My dear Montserrat students, congratulations on this milestone. After this extraordinary journey, you really deserve to be happy and proud. 4 years ago, you landed on the grounds of Montserrat. Since then, it has been your second home, your playground, your comfort place, your wellspring of joy, friendship, and knowledge. So much so that you have taken roots and nourished from its bounty. Now, you are at that point where you can, with all your pride, show the people the fruit of your hard work. Yes, all of you. Dahil di ba nga, lahat ay sikat sa Montserrat? But as you do, always remember what we have aimed you to be and what you have aspired for. Be gentlemen who are Christ-centered, intellectually competent, compassionate to the less fortunate ones, committed to excellence, and ruled by conscience. And also, never ever forget your friends, your classmates, your teachers, your school. That is your root. That is what will sustain you in your next journey. While you spread your branches and reach higher, we expect you to be the transforming agents and the catalyst of change that will give our people a better and more humane society in the future. Reach the sky, but keep grounded. Mabuhay kayong lahat.
Hindi naging madali ang taong ito para sa ating lahat. Madaming bagay na kinailangang matutunan at makasanayan sa loob lamang ng ilang buwan. Gayunpaman, nakita ko kung gaano ninyo pinaghirapan at pinaglaanan ng oras ang mga responsibilidad na ibinigay sa inyo. Ilang beses ninyo akong tinanong kung sino o para kanino nga ba ako bumabangon. Kayo ang dahilan kung bakit kinaya kong bumangon ng maaga, kung bakit hindi ako sumuko. Ang paniniwalang balang araw ay makakamtan din ninyo ang inyong mga pangarap ang siyang nagbibigay ng lakas sa akin. Magkita-kita tayo muli pagkatapos nitong pandemya. Mahal na mahal ko kayo. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klaseng St. Leon Iñas, Majon. David G. Alfeche IV, Brent Simone V. Amesola, Ralion Benedict Q. Anyunevo, Jacob T. Azucena, Luis Gabriel C. Barros, Christian Raymond B. Blanza, Miguel R. Quadra, Simon Alfred M. de Guzman, Gabriel Simon P. Dionisio, Gabriel Angelo L. Dunca, Vigo Maximilian D. Elias, Wilfredo L. Espedido III, Joaquin Mary C. Estacio, Macphil C. Fonseca, Marco Antonio P. Gonzaga, Robert Alan T. Juan, Rafael Joaquim C. Landicho, Samuel Diego A. Layu, Ruben Mateo A. Letaba, Alessandro Geronimo L. Leyva, Alexus Ruben D. Luciano, Matthew David C. Mendoza, Tristan Luis A. Monso, Jose Luis A. Nakpil, Enrique C. Nepomuceno II, Rafael Gabriel C. Noriega, Joshner A. O, Ryan J. Orpilia, Marius D. Pascual III, Paulo Micaelo D. Planas, Jack Zachary Fadeus P. Ponce, Christopher Anthony P. Reboto, Andre S. Rivadavia, Jansen B. Darrow, Johansen Blake P. Vergara, at Jose Lorenzo C. Zambaran. Muli ang mga nagtapos mula sa klaseng St. Leon Ines, Mojong. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Mahal kong Manwa, binabati ko kayo sa inyong pagtatapos. Naalala niyo ba ang kwento ni Joe Gardner mula sa pelikulang Soul? Ayon sa kanya, we only have a short time on this planet. You want to become the person that you were born to be? Don't waste your time on all the junk of life. Spend your precious hours doing what will bring out the real you, the brilliant, passionate you that's ready to contribute to something meaningful into this world. Iyan din ang nais kong bitbitin ninyo sa pagsisimula ng bagong yugto ng inyong buhay. Sulitin ang bawat pagkakataong mayroon kayo upang magmahal at magtaya. Dahil sa ganyang layunin naman kayo nilikha. Kaya, ano pa ang iyong hinihintay? Sulitin ang bawat saglit ng iyong buhay. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klase ng Blessed Julian Manwa. Rafael Enrique S. Abes, Juan Diego M. Antonio, Dwayne Tron A.
Malacanao. Franklin Sean P. Bernabe. Patrick Jormir C. Cabero. Augustine Benedict G. Castañeda. Jose Gabriel T. Clutario. Joaquin Gabriel A. Comsti. Gian Marco Y. Cruz. Emilio C. de la Cruz III. Giorno Lorenzo N. Divino. Giancarlo Kessler P. Favis. Lorenzo Miguel P. Gutierrez. Rafael Edmundo J. Jaime. Nathan Luis S. Jordan. Alessandro Franco S. Cao. Marcus Mikhail Kirov. Vince Inigo M. Lanzona. Ashton Marcus M. Lim. Jan Andrew Limpin. Rafael Kyle Z. Lopez. Francesco A. Magbiray. Ryan Christian S. Mallorca. Hilario Catalino Raman L. Nava. Carl Andrew R. Navarro. Cyrus Q. Nobleza. Kyle Patrick P. Ong. Andre Benedict A. Pagirigan. Glenn Germain S. Pangan. Juan Rafael T. Ramos. Ronald Joaquin P. Reyes III. Rise Ryan A. Rojas. Asham Ferdowsi B. Sarip. Joaquin Antonio M. Silva. Joaquin Jorge Miguel G. Tamayo. Jose Gabriel L. Tan. Lance Maurice L. Teng. Enzo Miguel M. Pino. Muli ang mga nagtapos sa klaseng Blessed Julian Manwa, isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Alam nating ito'y isang mapanghamong panahon. Ngunit may mga biyayang makikita sa nakalipas na taon. Araw-araw nasaksihan ko ang inyong mga talento, ang pagbibigay ng sarili ng buong buo. At sa oras na kayo'y umiyak at kinailangan ng yakap, sa isa't isa kayo'y nakinig, kumapit, at nagpatuloy sa hinaharap. Ipinakita ninyo ang paghubog bilang Atenista sa pagmamahal sa Diyos at pakikisa sa kapwa. Ang pagwawakas na ito ay inyong tagumpay, kasama ang mga guro at pamilyang gumabay. Patuloy na piliing magmahal at hanggang sa muli, Klaseng Morse, salamat ng marami. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klaseng St. Henry Morse. Mori T. Alejo, Diego F. Andal, Clarence Antonio C. Andres, Sebastian Archer S. Antolin, Angelo Benigno F. Aquino, Matthew Frederick R. Arsenio, Jose Antonio Agustin B. Arciaga, Edward Justice D. Bacoro, Mansur Khalil B. Batistil, Carol Jose C. Carlos, Raymond Martin Z. Castro, Josiah F. Corrales, Enrico Pio Gabriel E. Cruel, Christian Kyle E. Doctor, Jaime Lorenzo V. Estacio, Andre Ismael M. Gatchalian, Miguel Ivan C. Go, Gareth Lee B. Goswico, Gonzalo Agustin B. Lagazon, Carol Thaddeus S. Lamban, Adam Richard B. Maliwat, Rogelio Gustav V. Padua III, Inigo Alonso P. Pastor, Jose Miguel S. Persil, Juan Emilio O. Policarpio, Christian Andrew P. Reboton, Nico Anjosh J. Ricafuente, Ralph Maverick P. Rojas, Ethan Alexander C. Sarte, Lorenzo Miguel Q. Sioson, Samuel Benedict L. Tadeo, Joaquin A. Tanpoco, Jose Alfonso N. Timbang, Francisco Felipe P. Urquiaga, Roberto Luis P. Veloso, at Franz Leo B. Villasencio. Muli, ang mga nagtapos mula sa klaseng St. Henry Morse. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Congratulations, grade 10 graduates of school year 2020-2021. You made it, and I applaud you for that. I can confidently say that your resiliency has been put to test and you passed the test with flying colors. What your batch went through this year was not easy. Going on an online learning at the same time, being confined at home for so long, which meant no ways to unwind nor energize outside of home, was all the more stressful. But you made it through. Congratulations again. Congratulations too for being able to develop in yourselves the character our Ateneo Junior High School has primarily and foremost envisioned for each and every one of you. Your ability to be resilient amidst adversities has truly shaped your character. This character will surely help you throughout your journey and endeavors in the future. Thereby, as you move up to senior high school, allow me to borrow this quote, which I hope to be your mantra or your guiding principle in life. And I quote, "The most important thing in your life is to live your life with integrity and not to give in to peer pressure to be something or someone that you're not." End of quote. And this is by Ellen DeGeneres. Remember, your abilities, your capabilities, plus your character are all the ingredients of the real education of life. Many dream to achieve a milestone, but only a few reach the fulfillment of this dream. You are very blessed and you have achieved. I wish you the best as you embark in the next chapter of your high school journey. May God always shower you with all the graces you are deserving of. Keep safe.
Maligayang araw ng pagtatapos, klaseng Whitbread. Hangad ko ang inyong tagumpay sa bawat hamon na inyong kaharapin, mula ngayon hanggang sa hinaharap. Matatapos man ang taong panuroang ito, hindi magwawakas ang ating ugnayan bilang isang pamilya. Patuloy nating suportahan at ipagdasal ang isa't isa, gayon din ang para sa ikabubuti ng ating bayan. Naway sa bawat landas sa tinatahak ninyo'y hindi ninyo malimutan ang mga aral at naging paghubog sa inyo ng ating mahal na paaralan. Tangay ng inyong matibay na prinsipyo at adhikaing tulungan at mahalin pa ang ating bayan. Manatili kayong matyaga, mapagmalasakit, mapagkumbaba, at higit sa lahat ay may taimtim na pananampalataya sa Diyos. Pisikal man tayong magkakalayo ngayon, hangad ko na tayo ay pinag-uugnay-ugnay ng ating mga hangaring nakapagpapabago at nagbibigay ng solusyon sa hinaharap. Hanggang sa muli, mga minamahal kong mag-aaral, isang pagbati muli sa inyong pagtatapos. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa Tasing Blessed Thomas Winter. Jaron Isaac B. Abesamis. Jadevan L. Babaran. Mario Oliver A. Bate. Joaquin Mateo M. Bernabe. Jose Antonio Y. Blanco Jr. Jason Gabe A. Kangsuy. Zed R. Chaudhry. Chase Benedict Q. Corpus.
Gabriel Nacer B. Cruz. Juan Carlos N. Cuaresma. Dane Decha B. Dato. Carl Enrique C. de los Santos. Anton Jose M. Dulalia. Leonardo Emanuel O. Duremdes IV. Johan Emilson B. Escalante. Gerson D. Gusilata. Joseph Matthew F. Legaspi. Enyo Hayden S. Magdato. Nero James G. Masangkay. Nathan Joshua M. Mercado. Kian Emmanuel C. Munsaya. Jacob Godfrey J. Paraiso. Franco Ariston Marcelino L. Pascual. Thomas Marco G. Perez. Gabriel Ruben G. Ramos. Julia Nicolas Samson. Ethan Carl C. Sanggalang. Adam Lawrence L. Santos. John Paul C. T. Joaquin Emmanuel D. Toledo. Isaiah Queen P. Tulod. Ivan Gabriel S. Valenzuela. Pio Rafael S. Ventura. Miguel G. Villegas. At Zakeo Michelis J. Zara.
And Yuki, binabati ko kayo sa inyong pagtatapos. Alam natin na hindi naging madali itong taong ito, pero nagpapasalamat pa rin ako sa Panginoon at nakasama ko kayo at naging isa tayong pamilya. Ang masasabi ko lang ay, finally, this is it. Ito na ang hudyat ng panibagong pahina ng inyong buhay bilang mag-aaral. Gaya nga ng sinasabi ko sa inyo, padayon na ang ibig sabihin ay magpatuloy o sumulong. Padayon lang kahit may pagsubok at hamon ng buhay. Padayon sa pagkakaroon ng malakas na kalooban at mangangatawan, at higit sa lahat, padayon sa pagiging makadiyos at manatili kayong maging mabuti sa inyong kapwa. Auf Wiedersehen! Hanggang sa muli! Paalam at salamat, 10 Yuki! Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klaseng Beato Didacus Yuki. Ethan Maxim R. Abu. Matt Ryan C. Agraviator. Benjamin Inigo A. Barredo. Mario Odes A. Bate. Carlo Inigo B. Bautista. Alexander D. Biscoccio. Lorenzo Mari F. Campos. Isaac Noah J. Corleto. Angelo Rafaelo M. Cornejo. Michael Edric O. Del Rosario. Ryan Andrew A. De la Cruz. Sean Aaron O. Diamante. Emmanuel Gerard P. Diaz. Jose Enrique R. Dumaut. Manuel Alejandro D. Garcia. Jose Antonio A. Garovillo. Francisco G. Igdalaga III. Patrick Ethan P. Lee. Rainer Mark S. Legaspi. Gabriel Lorenzo D. Mactal. Jose Riel E. Marquez. Lance Adrian M. Mateo. Paulo Nicolo M. Mendiola. Christian Sky T. Mendoza. Rafael O. Morta. John Rafael L. Ortiz. Bon Denzel Z. Paraiso. Joaquin Inigo M. Peña. Beverly Miguel M. Pimentel. Adiel Habib R. Ramos. Troy Marcel D. Rementina. Joaquin Adelino R. Riosa. Jaime Manuel Z. Singson. Joaquin Miguel L. Songco. Mateo Francesco M. Suzara. Andrew Benjamin G. Tan. Stephen Kyle G. Uy. At John Francis Y. Viray. Muli, ang mga nagtapos sa klaseng Beato Didacus Yuki. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Sa nakalipas na taong aralan, batid kong marami kayong pinagdaanan sa iba't ibang akademikong pangangailangan at maging sa mga personal ninyong kalagayan. Narinig ko ang inyong mga agam-agam. Saksi ako sa mga kontekstong inyong pinanggalingan. Ngunit kahit hindi sigurado, ay nagpatuloy pa rin kayo sapagkat baon ninyo ang mga pangarap na matagal na ninyong binuo. Mga pangarap na hindi lamang para sa inyo, kundi laan din sa mga taong humubog sa inyong pagkatao. Kaya naman, saludo ako sa inyo. Hindi lamang sa tagumpay na inyong natamo, kundi sa kabutihang nangingibabaw sa inyong mga puso. Naway gamitin ninyo ang mga aral na inyong natutuhan mula sa mga talakayan para lalo pang paglingkuran ang ating mahal na bayan. Lagi ninyong tatandaan na kailangan ng bansa ng mga taong kagaya ninyo para magdulot ng pagbabago sa buhay ng ibang tao. Umibig kahit masakit, magmalasakit sa kabila ng pait. Malabo mang magkita-kita sa gitna ng pandemya, sana'y baunin ninyo ang mga alaala na palaging magpapatunay sa halaga ng bawat isa. Mga alaala na binuo ninyo sa 4 na taong pagsasama. Salamat sa pagiging bahagi ng isang makabuluhang paglalakbay. Salamat sa inyong taos-pusong pag-alalay. Salamat sa pagsasama sa sandaling panahon. Salamat sa mga di matatawarang pagkakataon. Lagi kayong magiging bahagi ng buhay ko. Mananatili ang inyong espasyo sa aking puso. Sa mga munting agila ng Blessed Esteban Zuraire, humayo kayo at lumipad ng malaya habang inaalala ang inyong mga papel sa lupa. Abutin ang pangarap kahit na mahirap. Palaging magsikap para sa mas magandang hinaharap. Lagit lagi para sa Diyos, para sa bayan. Ang mga magtatapos mula sa klaseng Blessed Esteban Zuraire: Anselmo Margarito M. Adriano VI, Luigi Dominic L. Aguas, Simon Micael Q. Andal, Derek Matthew J. Barantes, Mark Emilio A. Batu, Nicorain B. Behasa, Rafael S. Bordador, Augusto Gabriel M. Calilu, Paige J. Carbonell, Rafael C. Centeno, David Martin H. Chan, Jarod Sebastian P. Clarin, Joaquin Leandro A. Cruz, Anton G. De Leon, Lorenzo R. De la Luna, Regis John R. Dimla, Daniel Julian L. Encontro, Anton Miguel E. Gamboa, Allen Job G. Garchitorena, Gabriel Joaquin M. Gutay, Cyril Joseph P. Ibay, Yuri Leonardo C. Jose, Chan Lee, Patrick Iñaki D. Lu, Jose Alfonso R. Lumawig, Mark Oliver A. Manansala, Timothy John P. Mendia, Manuel Marlon Jose S. Mercado, Nathan Patrick R. O. Ante, Bry Sebastian E. Razal, Ramon Lorenzo M. Santiago, Andrew Dominic L. Saulo, Gaetano T. Scarlata Jr., Rafael Luis Z. Torres, Yoshi Alfonso D. Ungson, Matthew Kyle P. Uy, at Paulo A. Velilla. Muli, ang mga nagtapos mula sa klaseng Blessed Esteban Zuraire. Isang pagbati sa inyong pagtatapos.
Ang mga nagtapos na ikasampung baitang ay manunumpa bilang kasapi ng asosasyon ng alumni ng Ateneo na pamumunuan ni Ginoong Hilbert Hernani A. Carino, Pangulo ng Asosasyon ng Alumni ng Ateneo de Manila.
Mga nagtapos, itaas ang kanang kamay at sumunod sa panunumpa. Sa araw na ito ng aming pagtatapos, sa piling ng aming mga magulang, kamag-anak, at mga kaibigan, sa piling ng aming mga kamag-aral, guro, at tagapangasiwa ng pamantasan, sa piling ng mga alumni at bilang alumni ng Ateneo na nakatalagang maging lux in domino, liwanag sa Panginoon, sumusumpa kaming maging tao para sa kapwa at hayaang magningning ang aming liwanag sa lahat. Sumusumpa kaming maglingkod sa aming kapwa, lalo na sa mga nagdarahop ang katawan at kaluluwa. Sumusumpa kami na maging bukas palad sa mga handog ng isip at katawan na dulot ng Diyos sa amin, sa pagmamahal ng aming pamilya, kapwa-tao, bayan, at ng aming Diyos. Panginoon, turuan mo kaming maging bukas palad. Ibaba ang inyong mga kamay, binabati ko kayong lahat.
Mga magulang at mga kaibigan, ang punong guro ng nakababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila, si Ginoong Jose Antonio P. Salvador.
Mga nagsipagtapos, hinihiling ko sa inyo ngayon na ilabas ninyo ang inyong mga rosaryo at isabay sa pagtaas ng inyong mga kamay sa inyong pag-awit ng pagtatapos ng mga Atenista. Maging sagisag nawa ito ng ating panalangin para sa tunay na kapayapaan na higit na kinakailangan ngayon ng ating bayan. Mga kaibigan, aawitin po ngayon ng klaseng nagtapos, taong 2021, ang awit ng pagtatapos.
We stand on a hill between the earth and sky. Now all is still where Loyola's colors fly. Our course is run and the setting sun ends Ateneo's day. Eyes are dry at the last goodbye. This is the Ateneo way. Mary, for you, for your white and blue, we pray you'll keep us merry, constantly true. We pray you'll keep us merry, faithful to you. Down from the hill, down to the world go I, remembering still how the bright blue eagles fly through joy and tears, through the laughing years. We sing our battle song. Win or lose, it's the school we choose. This is the place where we belong. Mary, for you, for your white and blue, we pray you'll keep us merry, constantly true. We pray you'll keep us merry, faithful to you.
Dito po nagwawakas ang palatuntunan ng pagtatapos ng nakababatang mataas na paaralang Ateneo de Manila, klaseng 2021 sa ika-162 taon ng pamantasang Ateneo de Manila.
Atenista, paalam at salamat ni Dingdong Guerrero. Nagsimula ang lahat ng may kasamang lungkot, pangamba at pagkalito. Ang sa atin ay bumalot.
Paano magsisimula? Sa pag-aaral ay papapalaon. Kakaibang sitwasyon. Ano sa atin ang idudulot?
Ang panghuling taon ninyo ay sadyang naiimak. Sa tahanan kayo naglagi dahil sa pandemya.
Mga guro't kamag-aral, hindi makakasalamuha. Hindi mapuntahan, paaralang minumutya.
Lagpas 1 taon na pagkikita natin ng personal. Hindi natin inakala pagkawalan natin magtatagal.
Hindi sapat ang pagsasama natin na virtual. Ang nadama natin, pananabik at pagmamahal.
Sa kabila ng mga hamon, dulot ng ating sitwasyon, kami sa paaralan, sinunggaban ang pagkakataon.
Kasama ng inyong mga magulang, tuloy ang aming misyon. Kayo ay matuto at mahubog. Ito ang aming tuon.
Ang pangarap namin sa inyo ay hindi magmamaliw. Kayong aming mga mag-aaral at inistang ginigiliw.
Ang mahubog kayong lagi ang nagbibigay sa amin ng aliw. Hindi kami titigil, sa inyo ay hindi bibitiw.
Ang kayo'y maging matalino, isa sa aming mga pangarap. Sa lahat ng larangan ng buhay, kayo sana ay magsikap.
Kahusayan at katalinuhan, hangad naming maging ganap. Kagalingan at kabutihan sa inyo nawa ay mahanap.
Lagi naming hahangarin ang kayo'y maging mabuti. Alam kung ano ang tama, pati kung ano ang mali.
Kayo'y aming hahangaan at ikatutuwa lagi. Kayong mga Atenista, may malinis na budhi.
Ipadama natin sa kapwa ang ating malasakit. Ang ating pagdamay, ngayon nila kailangan ng higit.
Ibigay natin sa kanila ang ating yakap na mahigpit. Ipakita natin sa kanila na sa mundo ay may langit.
Tatak ng isang Atenista ang malalim na pagtataya. Lahat ng ninanais, isinasa puso, isinasagawa.
Kapag nangangako, tayo'y tapat sa salita. Ang paggawa ng labis ay siya natin laging panata.
Pinakahigit na katangian sa inyo'y makita ng totoo. Inyo sanang isabuhay ang pagiging makakristo.
Magmahal ng tunay, kabutihan ay isa puso. Ituon lagi sa Diyos ang buhay at pagkatao.
Naging saksi kami sa inyong mga tagumpay, sa pagsubok at kabiguan, kasama rin kaming tunay.
Naging bahagi kami ng inyong mga buhay. Maghiwalay man tayo, hindi tayo magwawalay.
Napagtagumpayan natin ang taon ng pagsubok. Panahon na ngayon upang kayo ay itampok. Nakatanaw kami sa malayo sa kahit na anong sulok. Ikinagagalak namin narating ninyo ang tuktok.
Paalam mga Atenista, humanda sa paglipad. Puntahan ninyo ngayon ang nararapat ninyong pugad. Tandaan ninyong lagi ang aming hinahangad. Pangarap namin sa inyo, hihintayin naming matupad.
Ang naming Atenista, maraming salamat. Lahat ng natutunan inyo sanang ilapat, magmahal, maglingkod, tumulong ng sapat sa sarili, sa bayan, sa Diyos ay maging tapat.
Wala mang tiyak sa mundo, walang maipapangako sa'yo. Ang tanging di magbabago, ang pag-ibig ko sa'yo. Lumuha ka nga kung dapat, mawalan ka man ng lakas, sumandal ka sa aking balikan. mamahalin kita. Sa sandaling kapos ka na, akong bahala sa iyo. Kaibigan ko. Sabay nating salubungin ang agos ng buhay natin. Mahal, wag kang bibitiw, hindi kita lilimutin. Huwag kang matakot lumingon, ngingitian kita. Maligaw ka man sa daan, palagi kang may babalikan. At mamahalin kita. Sa sandaling kapos ka na, akong bahala sa iyo. Kaibigan, mamahalin kita. Sa sandaling kapos ka na, akong bahala sa iyo. Kaibigan ko. At mamahalin kita. Sa sandaling kapos ka na, akong bahala sa iyo. Kaibigan, mamahalin kita. Sa sandaling kapos ka na, akong bahala sa iyo. Kaibigan ko. Kaibigan ko.
Thank you, Grade 10, for taking leadership roles and guiding the other grade levels. Good job, and I wish you to continue doing better each day.
Good day, Grade 10 students. I would like to congratulate you for reaching this far. I just wanted to say to continue doing your best and apply all the valuable lessons gotten from teachers and past experiences.
Maraming salamat sa suporta at tulong na binigay niyo sa amin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grade 10.
Thank you, Grade 10 students.
Salamat.
Goodbye and good luck to all the grade 10 students graduating this year.
Congratulations, Grade 10.
Congratulations, Grade 10.
Good luck.
Good job.
Bago magtagumpay, kailangan nyo lang sumablay
Sa mga binabato ng buhay kasama ang aray, padayon, sa mura'y sumuko, nagre-reklamo, kumakalam, nakakabusog ang pangarap, sadyang walang naman. Kumayod lang ng kumayod, huwag kang aayaw, kahit walang makapitan, huwag kang bibitaw, kasama sa tagumpay, dahil sa dalawang kamay. Sa hirap ng biyahe ng buhay, matutong sumakay, abot ang tagumpay, dahil sa dalawang kamay. Sa hirap ng biyahe ng buhay, matutong sumakay, nadapa, sugatan, nagwala, nabigo, nalito, lumayo, bumugbog, tumayo. Bukas ay may panibagong yugto, tamang oras na nakalaan sa'yo.